Hey, tell your bestie, Christos anesti. Christos voskresi. Christ is risen. Well, hi, howdy, everybody. It's summertime now in the South, even though it's barely spring for most of the world, but it's about 85 degrees right now, and with the camper in the shade, I have yet to turn on the air conditioning. So, glory to God for that. Before we get into anything else with this episode, I would like to thank you also very much for your continued support and sticking with me as I go through this transitional period. I do not have reliable internet out here, and so I fell into a pit there for a while, but I'm working things out that I can get places to use the internet and get episodes back up. So I really, really appreciate you sticking it out with me. And with that being said, we're going to roll the intro and get into what I'm sure will be another controversial episode because my Eastern Orthodoxy, the Ortho Bros. This one's for you guys. Welcome back to Orthodox Review, the most uneducated educational program here on the internet today. I am your host, Raphael, the God with one hand thumbs. And I got my Coffee Wizard t-shirt on. Coffee Wizard, woo, don't talk to me till I had my bean juice. That's right. So, thanks again for sticking around and coming and checking things out. Before we get into the show, I said at the beginning, I'm going to say it again, thank you all so very much for your continued support, especially those on the Patreon. And in the Discord server, which I will say is the most chill Orthodox server on the internet. I mean, I'm an idiot, but the server's pretty laid back, you know. If you're looking to get away from the dire cord, meme squad, browbeating Ortho Bros, come on over to our Discord and just, you know, loosen your belt, breathe through your mouth, relax. So, yeah, so links for all that stuff will be below, as well as the book that we're going to go over today. And there's a very specific reason, as I put in the community post, that we are going over this particular iteration of this book. So we're going to call this part 2 of a video that I started like 3 years ago on the Agpeya. Now, in the intervening years, I've picked up a few different editions of the Agpeya. And the thing about the Agpeya is there's no differences aside from translation and print quality. It is the canonical book of hours based on the rule that was set down by Saint Mark in Alexandria. So really, this particular iteration of the Book of the Hours, okay, it predates monasticism and is actually based, but has grown from the Second Temple Jewish tradition. And so it's every hour, it's 12 Psalms, and there's some prayers, and some beautiful prayers. And first and foremost, I gotta say, you know, after spending years in this book, everything, as far as we Eastern Orthodox, you know, Chalcedonian Christians, we got all 7 councils, every prayer in here is, you know, completely Orthodox. So... You know, it's, you know, I'm not jumping ship to the Copts or anything, or trying to, you know, subvert with some sort of, you know, ecumenist agenda. Although I am of the belief that there is always hope for reunification. Maybe not in our lifetime, but, you know, God willing, wounds can heal. So this particular edition of the Agpeya comes from St. Mary and Demia convent down in Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe not in Atlanta, but down in Georgia, okay? Down here in the dirty South. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's printed in Canada. It's cloth and hardbound, and we're going to get into the construction because it is top-notch. $12.99. They're not making money on this book. I can almost guarantee that. They are not making money on this book. And for an extra $7, they put my name on it. It comes in 3 colors, so you got black, red, and blue. They're all beautiful. 2 ribbon markers. And I gotta say, and full color, by the way. And we're gonna go top down with this in a second, just so I can show you some stuff. There's some beautiful icons. I have not seen a book this well put together since New Rome Press did, like, their prayer book and the Light of the World and Mother of the Light and all that. This is an absolutely beautiful book, and I really can't wait to show it to you. I do want to go over a few things that I've learned about this book by going through it, and I've got my notes right here in front of me. And the first is there is one major inconsistency in the book. You see, there's a little buggy on my camera. The way the pages are numbered do not take into account the introductory pages that are unnumbered, and so it's not necessarily a typographical error, more so an oversight, where at the end of any specific hour it's going to tell you, okay, the conclusion is on page 31. It's not actually page 31, it's like page 40. And so that kind of threw me for a loop, because at the end of each hour, there's the Trisagion, and there's some forgiveness prayers, and a concluding prayer like we have in the hours according to the Byzantine usage. And so it's just putting that out there. But for $13 and then the extra $7, so $20 total for a personalized prayer book, top notch. It does include a brief history of the Agpeya, which, it means book of hours, prayer book of hours. So it's an Orlogian. So it gives you some history about, how it was passed down from St. Mark and how it evolved, and which is really cool, because that's not information that's usually widely available. And actually, while I was doing research, I found a book about the history of the Coptic liturgies, which it's on my wish list. And it's not for the show, it's just because I want to learn about that. That's cool. That's my idea of a good time, is sitting down with a book like that. Let's see. The translation is the Coptic Reader Translation, which is the Coptic Orthodox Church's Diocese of the South of the United States. It's their special translation of, the Psalms and everything. And just like for us Byzantine Rite Orthodox Christians, us Eastern Orthodox Christians, there's, throw a stick and you'll hit a different translation of the Psalms. I happen to think that, although it's not my favorite translation, it reads beautifully. And it kind of gives the Psalms a slightly different dimension. Not that it changes anything about the Psalms, but when you have a semi-modern English translation that really kind of leans more on the poetry and the spirit of the Psalm, it's just a refreshing change. The way we chant it would be clunky, but if you're just reading it, it's fantastic. There's also a chart in here, and I'll show you when we do the top down, where it gives you a chart for memorizing the entire Psalter within a year. That's pretty intense. I know I can't do it. I've been chanting Psalms for 13 years, and I've got maybe 2 memorized. So, again, I'm not all there. Let's see, and there's a Psalm chart, which, if you go back and watch my first episode on the Agpeya, I talk about how because there was no Psalm chart in any of these other Agpeyas. I've got these 3, I've got maybe 2 more in the back there. And so I had sat down and wrote out a chart about, how many Psalms are actually in the Agpeya and when they're used. And it's roughly half of the Psalms, it's like 70 some odd Psalms that are used on a daily basis. But yeah, there is a chart to memorize all the Psalms, which is great. So anyway, let's turn this around. Let's go top down. And I really want to focus on the construction of this book, because this book was printed in Canada. It's printed domestically, and they're selling it for $13. It's full color, it's sewn binding, it's got 2 ribbons, it's beautiful, it's well constructed, and it's cheap. So I am now, and again, I'll say, I understand, independent publishers, they need to make a profit to keep the doors open, right? I get it. This is being sold by a convent. I'm sure they've got to try to make some money too, but it just goes to show that if you wanted to, if you just kind of bit the bullet a little bit, and you can print domestically beautifully and keep cost reasonable, okay? Plus, with all the tariffs going on with China, do we really want to be screwing with that right now? Print local. Support local. All right, let's go top down, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the book. I'm going to show off how pretty it is, and then I'm going to send you on your way. And my goodness, it is warm in here. Let's go. All right, that's about as good as it gets. Go away, flies. Go away. Dang, dang, dang old flies. Whoo-wee. Shizzle my nizzle. Okay, so here we go. Hold on a second. Oh, I'm sweating. I'm sweating hard. Okay, so here we are. Johnny Blade, get out of there. All right. Yes, we're still doing this over the sink, all right? Yeah, so right off the bat, I want to show you the binding that will not quit. Or focus, for that matter. But anyway, it's fully sewn. Awesome. Oh, man, that's tight. These beautiful, beautiful full color icons. And I forgot to mention this earlier. At the beginning of each hour, it explains what the hour is and what we're remembering at that hour. And it's good to remind people that the Psalms, and each hour has 12 Psalms to it, correlate specifically to the commemoration of the hour in Christ's life. So let's go back to the beginning, because much like New Rome, man, really did a nice job with the inside cover paper. Perfectly cut and glued. It's just a great use of like this deep ochre sort of red. Here's our psalm chart, and yes, printed in Canada. So this is this year. It only came out like maybe a month or so ago. Wonderful printing. So we have a psalm chart and where each psalm is in the hours. So 76 psalms are recited 134 total times. May God grant us the gift to memorize. So there it is. It's brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And then we have the chart for memorize your psalms in 1 year. Prime to veil. I have hidden your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. Psalm 119, verse 11. And so, yeah, week 1, it's Psalms 1 and 2. Week 2, 3, and 4, so on and so forth. And then you have these review weeks. Like on week 12, you would review what you've... And it's you know, if you're dedicated to, you know, the Psalms, go for it. And then we have this great introduction that gives us the history of the Agpeya, which I kind of went over a little bit. And so table of contents, very simple, because the Agpeya is literally just an orologion. And so you have the canonical hours, so first hour being, you know, 3 a.m., 6 a.m., and then 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., the 11th hour would be like 5, 12th hour would be like somewhere around dinner time, the veil, midnight, and then the 3 watches of the night for like the overnight, and then personal prayers and absolution of the priests. So, ow, why do things always have to fall? So these are the introductory prayers that you recite before reading every hour, okay, with Psalm 50, and then you get right into the hours. And every hour you've got an icon. And there's your Psalms, and they're numbered throughout. And this is according to the Septuagint, of course. So this is the 13th Psalm, it's 24. I want to get to the end of this particular hour, because after the Psalms you have Gospel reading, you have some litanies. In the first hour you have the Gloria, the Trisagion, a whole bunch of extra stuff. Hail Holy Virgin. Conclusion for every hour, this is that page 40 prayer that I was telling you about. There's a prayer page at the end of every hour. So if you need to write down names or specific petitions or whatever, it's there for you. It's not just like, oh, well, we got a few extra pages in the page numbering. No, this was planned this way, and I kind of love that. So there we go again at the 9th hour. I love that the veil is in here, which is like the really late night thing. But okay, so here we go. The absolution of priests is actually priestly prayers that are just as fine for us to read. That's why they're in there. Each hour there are prayers for absolution. Let's go back here for a second just to give you an idea. We're asking for forgiveness every hour of the day. See there it says page 31. It's actually page 40. But yeah, so let's go back here. The confession prayers, the prayers before communion as well, are just slightly different from the ones we are used to, but they come from the same tradition early on. And so it's just a slightly different translation. Because, you know, after about 1,500 years, things tend to change a little bit. And then when it comes to personal prayers, we have prayers for guidance, for God's accompaniment, before meals, the usual stuff. And it's not, you know, it's not anything heavy. It's not like the St. Icons where you have like all sorts of miscellaneous prayers, stuff like that. It's just simple. It focuses on the Psalms as an orologian should. And that's all there is to it. So if you got $20 laying around, or $13 if you don't want the personalization, and you just want something that focuses on psalmody, just a different way to read the Psalms through the day, do consider this, because it is. I'm very happy with it. I love the Psalms, as you know, and so any chance I get to switch up my routine and read Psalms differently, I'm all for it. And plus, it's like, it's nice to have that connection to like the old desert fathers, like Saint Anthony and you know, Saint Athanasius the Great, and all those early ascetics. This is how they were doing it. So why not kind of have a connection with that? Okay, that's it. You're done. Class is dismissed. To all the ortho bros that are pissed off that I'm doing an Agpeya, kick rocks. God forgives and I forgive. It's gonna be okay, I promise. And on behalf of Patches, the One-Eyed Murder Cat, and myself, thank you again. Check the links below. Send me lots of money. Just kidding. Christ is risen. Indeed he is risen. Please don't forget to go to church, say your prayers, and remember God. God bless.